Hello everyone, and welcome to the latest 48-Hour Film Project live stream. I'm Dwayne Trammell here with Robin Sarvis with a packed program.
Yes, this is indeed a packed program tonight. We have 48-Hour Film Project creator Mark Ruppert, who will be joining us with the latest 48 HFP news, followed by Sergio Torres doing digital design for George Lucas's Industrial Light and Magic, as well as Disney, among others.
That's a lot for sure.
Yep.
Well, we will do our best to monitor the live stream on YouTube and Facebook for your questions, so get them ready.
Yep.
Before we get started, let's roll a quick video about our streaming sponsor, CG Creative Studios. Here we go.
Hello, future, and hello to everyone out there joining us on this global live stream.
Where my lovers at? Where my movers at? Yeah. Let's do it. This is our world. This is our life. This is our movement. This is our time. This is our time. And the nation. This is our time. And the nation. We are young. We are bold. We are strong. And the nation. Powerful. Beautiful. We are one. And the nation.
Oh, I'm a big fan of Rotterdam. You know, Mark, we were just there, so that's exciting.
Exactly right. So I know you've got a lot of great guests tonight. Bill and Sergio I have met at several Filmapaloozas, so I'm eager to hear what they're going to say. And of course, Ramel and John have a lot of great stuff to share with all of our viewers. So I'm just going to say goodbye and sit back and watch the broadcast.
All right.
All right,
well,
thanks, Mark.
Thanks, Mark. Great to see you.
We'll be talking to you soon.
Thank you all.
Okay.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Good night,
Bye.
Mark.
As some of you know, Robin and I also produce the 4 Points Film Project, which is an all-online 48-hour film project competition. Registration for this competition will open on September 8th, and the actual competition weekend will be November 13th to the 16th.
Right. The 4 Points Film Project is open to all citizens of planet Earth, and we especially encourage filmmakers to register a team if your local 48-hour film project city did not have a competition this year. Some cities are not having a competition as a result of the pandemic, so you can participate in this. It's all online.
Yeah. So our first filmmakers this evening are from Chicago and participated in the 4 Points Film Project last year. Sergio is a writer, director, editor, and co-founder of the sketch comedy website Kickarock.com. He's been creating short sketches and films for the past 10 years and recently began co-hosting the entertainment podcast Kickarocks, 2 Drink Minimum. He's also a freelance creative director and spends his days creating advertising to convince people to buy things they never knew they wanted. You know, I think I've seen some of his ads. Like they always say, 20% off means you're paying 80% for something you didn't need, and I have done that a few times.
Like, and my Amazon habits are none of anybody else's business, let's be very honest. Bill, who's also with us tonight, is a writer, actor, and also co-founder for the sketch comedy website, Kickarock.com. He's been creating short sketches and films for the past 10 years, and like Sergio, he recently began co-hosting the entertainment podcast by Kick a Rock, 2 Drink Minimum. Bill has also appeared on several Chicago stages performing mostly sketch and improv comedy. He's currently in the process of building an office and sound studio in his home in order to produce additional podcasts and pursue voice acting endeavors. Bill's other hobbies include playing video games, writing the occasional blog for Kick a Rock, and making his 1-year-old daughter laugh. Is there a better sound in the entire world than your own child laughing? From the Windy City, please welcome Sergio Torres and Bill Miller. Hey guys.
Oh,
Hello. How are you?
doing great. How are you, Robin and Dwayne?
We're
doing
great. We're happy to
doing
see you.
great. Good to see you guys.
Good seeing you.
Thank you. Sergio, you were a lot chattier before this thing started. You got to take it up.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yes,
Okay.
yes. Yep, we can hear you. It's so good to see you guys. So tell us
Thank you.
tell
Likewise.
us what Kick a Rock has been up to. We know you have a podcast, you have your website, and Dwayne and I are huge fans of your films. Tell us what's going on.
Well, because of the pandemic, we haven't been able to meet as often as we wanted. So we were doing a lot of remote meetings and doing a lot of podcasting. So if you'd like to check that out, go ahead and find us on, Apple iTunes, Google Podcasts, etc. for 2 Drink Minimum. But what we were excited for is we recently did the 48-hour film project for Milwaukee about, what was it, Bill, like 4 weeks ago?
Yeah.
They actually decided to go ahead and do it. And Milwaukee being just a quick hour away from us, we were like, let's go ahead and do it again, because we have done that in the past where we just drove up there. But the nice thing is they were actually allowing you to be remote for check-in and turning in. So we're like, let's get together, let's start filming again, because we were really looking forward to doing that.
Oh, yeah. Thank God for the 48-hour film project. Because we had done nothing up until that point, and we were itching to do something. So it was awesome.
Yeah, and so big props to Wayne, who is the producer in Milwaukee, and to make sure that he let us know all the details and allowing us to participate, because we just love doing the 48 every year. So.
Well, we love watching your films every year too. Tell everybody a little bit about your process this year. Did you guys do completely remote? Did you meet up? Were there masks involved? Kind of let everybody know that this is possible. We know it's possible. So how did you guys pull it off safely?
So one thing I do want to comment, Warren, I think I said Wayne.
Yes, Warren. I knew
was
who
the
you meant.
producer.
It's okay.
Yeah.
I knew who you meant.
He made sure that all the participating teams logged on and did the test for the safe sets, as Mark mentioned earlier, and we all made sure we followed that and followed those rules and instructions and made that part of our day. And we also made a conscious effort to keep it a very small team, because we didn't want to we just figured let's limit ourselves to, what did we have, Bill, like five people participate this year for that one?
That's correct.
Total?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. So that
It was a
one of our main things.
skeleton crew, as we like to call it. So very minimal, but enough to get it done.
Bill, what's your role in Kick a Rock as a filmmaker? What's your place there on the team?
I mean, most of the time I'm just a cheerleader, Robin. I lurk in the shadows and say, "Good job."
I've seen your
Ride the
films. I know
coattails.
that's not true. We've seen.
I like to ride the coattails of the more talented, but on the side I do some acting for Kick a Rock, as well as some writing. So that is my main contributions to the group.
Excellent. Tony wanted to send a message to you guys and let you know he's watching from work. He says to say hi.
Of course he is. Our giant. We love him so much. He's the best.
Yeah, you guys are a great, great team.
So I have a question. You guys have done 48 and you've done 4 points. So between the two, which would you, what are the differences as a team doing those two competitions? Is there any at all?
The obvious is
Bill.
the extra 24 hours, right? I mean,
Yep.
Yep.
That's a
But
yeah, that's a huge.
yeah, go ahead, Serge.
differentiator.
Go ahead.
So
No,
what
I
do
was
you
gonna
do
say
with
that's
that
a huge-
extra time?
Honestly, we get lazy. We sleep. It's like
We were
wait a
so
second,
used to
we
doing
got-
the 48 hour that the first time we did the 4 points, it was like a luxury.
Yep.
We were like,
Yeah.
oh, this is really easy. No, it's not. It's never easy. It's never easy.
Yeah.
But we did make a point to use that extra time as an advantage, mostly for post-production, which Sergio is vastly more experienced in than I am. But yeah, I think that is what we use that extra time for. It's just funny because 72 hours is in no way a long time to make a film either. But when you're
Right.
used to doing a 48, that extra day is a lot helpful. So it's great.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah,
we
and
found. Go ahead, Sergio.
yeah.
Which one's better
No,
though?
that's
They're both equally awesome. I'm being a politician here. They're great.
But like Bill said, it's nice to have that extra day to really fine tune. For us, we've always treated, like you said, that extra day for post production, and it's really nice to, watch it and watch it again, and really, criticize the entire thing. Like particularly for us, we have JT who does a lot of the animation work with us, and it just allows him that extra time to really finesse, and allows us to really take that extra time to make the audio be nice and crisp, and just make sure that we're 100% happy with the final cut.
We when we met you guys in person, I think it was when we were in Orlando, Dwayne, when we this specific question that I'm going to ask, but we were talking about Max Justice, which was your 4 Points film project from 2 years ago, I think now. Last year, 2 years ago, and you guys had mentioned that somebody just driving to work on post-production just kind of came up with this idea for an addition to that film, which was the commercial, and so I'm imagining that extra time really helped with that too. Like people come up with an extra idea, and all of a sudden this is going to be something you're going to add in, and that really, I mean, it's an amazing film, but that addition, I think, really sold it as an adventure serial, as a classic, 50s adventure serial.
Yeah.
So great.
Yeah, that was a really fun film. I have heard other filmmakers that do the 4 points and have also done the 48. They say, I've asked them, what do you do with the extra time? And they said, well, we do a 48-hour film and then we spend an extra day on our end credits.
That's basically true. Yeah, that's good. That's good. I think a lot of people who are entering in the 4 points have done or have some experience doing the 48. So I think that lends itself to that. I think if you have experience doing the 48, the 4 points is perfect for you and your team because it's the same thing except you're getting a little more time to maybe fine-tune some things that you normally wouldn't have time to do, or work with credits, of course.
Yeah.
Either way.
Yeah, credits or add a whole commercial to your film or something.
Right.
So are
yeah,
you,
that too.
Are you guys planning on doing I haven't looked at the team list, so I don't know who's registered for the 4 points for this year, but...
We haven't opened registration yet, remember?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Nobody's on the list
Didn't I
yet.
just read that earlier?
Yeah, you did.
Okay.
And you wrote it, too, which is the funny part.
Boy, I'm glad I wasn't on camera for that flub. So are you planning on registering for the 4 points this year? Put you on
we
the
haven't
spot.
discussed it. Yeah, we haven't discussed it in a meeting yet, but personally, I'm pretty sure we're going to do it because, one, it's just so much fun to do, and then two, Chicago hasn't set its dates for the 48 yet. It says like maybe October along those lines. So we love doing this so much that I'm sure we're just gonna need to jump in and do the 4 points just to be able to keep on creating, because that's what it's really all about.
Right.
Tell us about what you guys do in your everyday lives when you're not doing 48-hour films. What do you do?
Go ahead, Bill.
Sure, go ahead. You want me to go first? I wish that I just did Kick Rock. That'd be great. And making films. I have a day job at work. I sound like George Costanza for all you Seinfeld fans out there. I'm in the imports-exports business. So, yeah, I bring in...
I am too, because I'm a nurse. No, I'm just kidding.
There you go. So, my day job is I clear items with customs that are coming on U.S. soil. It's incredibly exciting.
Riveting.
Riveting. There you go. But we're working towards one day. Who knows? You never know.
Yeah.
You got to work at it. Otherwise, you'll never know. Hopefully, one day we are doing this for a living. I think all of us want that. Mm-hmm. And if anything, though, we love doing it, and we love participating in things like the 48 Hour and the 4 Points Film Projects. That we're not going to stop, because to us it's still so much fun. It's still necessary. It still keeps us sane,
right,
in a lot of ways. So as long as there's something to do and something to create, we're going to do it regardless of our day jobs, I think is the moral of the story.
I love hearing that.
Hey, how about you guys brought the Dream Machine? You want to set that up for us, and then we'll run it through and watch it together.
Sergio?
Dream Machine was actually a film that we created 2 years ago. It was basically us kind of making fun of, wanting to, you always dream about being in the movies, and it's really hard to, be in a feature film. So we thought it'd be funny to just say, hey, what if there was a device that allowed you to go to sleep and make your dreams actually put you in the movies? So that was really the basis of the concept, and we, ran with it and wrote it and had a lot of fun with it, and hopefully people know the movies that we reference in there and joke about, and we just had a lot of fun with it. So that's it.
Awesome, that sounds great. So I'll go ahead and roll it, and let's watch. Here we go.
Real estate's at an all-time low, and you'd have to... Do you dream about being in the movies? Well, now, your dreams are the movies. Instructions.
Whoa, where did you come from? Wait a minute, I know this. This is The Shining with Jack Nicholson, right? Yes, which would make you, I'm sorry, I can't remember your name. Wait. I got it, give me a second, okay. Hi, Lloyd. A little slow tonight, isn't it?
Yes, it is, Mr. Torrance. What'll it be?
Oh man, this is great. I love The Shining. I mean, the layout isn't exact, but it still has that same cool, creepy vibe, you know what I mean?
It's a simulation, sir. We can't make an exact replica due to copyright laws, but you get the gist.
Yeah, no. It's great. I love it. The decor, the lighting. Except, what is that guitar doing there? Do you play or something?
Me? No. That guitar, it's just a prop.
And are you a simulation as well?
Sort of. My features are based on a human specimen named Tiny Doolittle. In the real world, he happens to be a dog trainer. As a matter of fact, he and his Yorkshire Terrier took second place at 2017's Westminster Dog Show.
Nice! So, how do we change up the scenery around here? Is there like a movie playlist or something?
With your Dream Switcher, sir.
Sorry, Dream what now?
Dream Switcher. In your left pocket.
Lloyd. Oh, what do you know about that?
Press the center button, sir.
Yeah, nothing's happening.
Oh dear. You didn't read the instruction booklet, did you?
I tried to?
I don't know how to tell you this, sir, but without selecting a proper dream sequence and a designated wake-up time, I'm afraid you're stuck here.
Whoa, stuck here? No, I can't spend the rest of my life waiting for this messed up movie to end.
Well, there is one thing we can try. Have you ever seen the movie Inception?
So, what is this again?
It's called a kick, sir.
And you're sure about this?
Oh, absolutely. All we have to do is push you back and let you fall.
Oh, all right. Wait, what? No! Oh, what the hell, Lloyd?
It probably has to happen on the other end.
Oh, you think?
No worries, sir. I have another idea. All right, now just pick up the phone, and when you hear a voice, say what I told you to say.
Operator. I need an exit? Son of a bitch!
Damn it! I thought for sure we were going to be able to matrix you out of here.
Well, what now, genius? I can't stay inside these four walls forever.
That's it. 4 walls. You're going to break the 4th wall.
Break the 4th wall. Is he serious?
Who the hell are you?
I am Sir Isaac Wilhelm III, and I do believe that I have the...
Whoa! Whoa! What did you do that for?
What? Some stranger pops up out of nowhere and you want to take his advice? Besides, we don't need his help. We've got this. All right, now go on and shoot yourself.
Hey, hold on a second now. In movies, if you die in your dreams, you die in real life too.
No, sir, that's like Nightmare on Elm Street. This is more like Groundhog Day.
Oh, okay. Here goes nothing.
Nope, didn't work. Looks like you're stuck here forever.
All right. Here goes nothing. I really forgot my first name. I can't remember your name.
Don't remember.
I don't. Sorry. I'm sorry. I don't know your name. I don't.
Damn it, Jack. It's one line. The most important line in the whole movie. Look, I'm sorry I don't remember your name. Now quit messing around and get it right.
Sorry, dude. I'm just messing around for the gag reel. Yeah.
What?
Yeah, dude. The movie's over, man. The credits are rolling. Look.
Idiots, it's 2018. Movies aren't over until after the post-credits.
Post-credits? So I'm still dreaming?
I'm afraid so, Jack.
No! What the?
Good morning, sleepyhead. You knocked out pretty quick.
Where are we?
We're on our way to drop off our film. My God. Jack, what's happening?
Oh no. No! No!
So good, you guys.
So good.
Thank you.
Oh, so great.
So just not long after the film started, Robin says to me, whispers to me, "Turn off our audio so I can laugh."
That was so
Awesome.
good. Yeah, it was great. Such a great film. And I'm very sad about the snapping at the end. But still, I saw it and I was like, ooh! Like it happened to me all over again, you guys. I don't know. That was a rough one. So good. Thank you both so much for joining us tonight. And we know it's later in Chicago, but still kind of early. You know, the night is young. What are you going to do? Thank you both. We hope to see you maybe at Filmapalooza 21 when we get it all together and scheduled. Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
All right.
We're hoping.
Thank you
We're
both.
hoping.
So lovely to see you. Have a wonderful evening.
Great to see you guys
Thank you.
so
Bye.
much.
Thanks for having us.
Bye. Thank
Okay,
you.
absolutely.
Bye.
Oh, that was great. That was so
was so
great.
much fun.
Oh, that was a good one. They make such great films. They're so good. Okay, next in our live stream lineup is San Diego and Los Angeles 48 HFP filmmaker and really just all around amazing guy. We love Romel. Romel Andaya. He is a filmmaker known for his comedic dramas and time travel stories, which are audience favorites here in San Diego, I'm sure in LA as well. With his production company, Raw Mix Productions, Romel has been providing a platform for actors and creatives for a decade.
Right, and as a prolific contributor to the 48-hour film project in San Diego and Los Angeles and the 72-hour film shootout, he has garnered several award-winning films that have been featured in many film festivals around the nation. Romel immerses himself in all aspects of production and continues to create and have a foothold in both film and new media platforms.
Welcome, Romel.
There
you
he
are.
is.
Hi. Hi.
Thanks
We're
for
so happy
having
to
me.
see you. Thanks for being here. We're happy to see you. We haven't seen you in person in a long time.
I know, it's been a while.
I know. It's rough.
Missed those screenings.
Yes, I know. We miss them too, believe me. I know. I mean, they're a little bit of work, but boy, are they worth it. And we love seeing all the filmmakers.
Where
So-
else do you get to walk a purple carpet, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
for sure.
So tell us
pictures.
a little bit, yes, pictures and paparazzi and interviews. Tell everybody a little bit about how you got your start with the 48-hour film project.
So with the 48-hour film project, I was volunteering at the San Diego Asian Film Festival, and I was trying to find an outlet to make a film, my first film, and my friend Mark Gaja was going to do the 48-hour film project, and so I was like, that's a good opportunity to make a film. So I decided to enter.
And we know Mark, of course, very well as well. And the San Diego Asian Film Festival is a classic and a standard in San Diego. So we have so many amazing kind of film festivals, and we're thrilled that you and other filmmakers came over from there, and you formed your team 10 years ago now. Is that right?
Correct. Yeah.
And you have
it was,
kind of
2010.
some staple. So this is your decade in the 48-hour film project. Very exciting.
Yes.
And you have, as Dwayne and I both know, kind of a staple team members. How did you meet them, and what is your kind of, do you have a relationship with them filmmaking wise throughout the year?
Oh yeah, for sure. We always see the 48-hour film project as some type of reunion, and a lot of them like to come back every year because it's just like a reunion with everyone, and we're just creating, and so everyone's having a good time. And yeah, I whenever I ask the actors and the crew, like, why do you guys come back? And they're like, oh, to see everyone, and of course to make a wonderful film.
Right, and I think we feel the same way about the 48 because we do feel like it's a family reunion every year.
Yeah, we see the same filmmakers, you know, at the meet and greets and at the kickoff and the drop off and everything, and it's just, you know, just great to see everyone. It is like a big family reunion. So I wanted to ask you, like, what do you do outside of the 48, and how has 48 work that you've done in 48-hour films helped your, you know, paying job, I guess you could say?
Oh yeah, I mean, a lot of skills have been I've learned through the 48-hour process. So having like a small crew, I have to take on editing. So you know, sometimes it's hard to get an editor to like edit your film, and so I picked up editing, and that helped with directing as well as producing. So from that, I started to apply to, you know, it's kind of hard for me to try to get some directing jobs, and so I took on editing and got hired at BuzzFeed, and I started doing a lot of projects for them, editing YouTube videos for them, and kind of harness my skills as an editor over there. And I think 48-hour gave me the speed to like pump out projects in the the assembly line way that BuzzFeed pumps out videos. So
Right.
From there, I gained that experience and moved over to Amazon Prime Video. So presently, I'm an editor over there.
And what type of projects are you editing for them?
I'm editing promo videos for their original content. So
Okay.
taking their videos and then taking different spins on the videos and then putting it out on social media for their YouTube platforms as well as their TikTok and Instagram platforms.
No, that's huge. That's huge. I love following
Yep.
you on Facebook and Instagram, but and especially I love watching your videos. I've seen some of the food stuff that you've done. It's always just so interesting and fun, and just videos that you've done about with your Raw Mix crew, but then also from BuzzFeed, and it just feels so exciting for Dwayne and I know for me to watch your success and see all the things that you're doing. It's
Right.
super exciting for us.
Right. Yeah, we love it anytime a San Diego 48-hour film project team member or even 4 Points Film Project has success in the industry. It really makes us feel good, makes us feel like we're doing something right. So
Right.
we love to see the success.
Even though really it has so little to do with us personally, it's
Right,
just like
right.
kind of building that community and then just watching.
Right, providing the opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. Like providing, the community, like you said, just kind of building that up.
Mm-hmm.
And you're living in LA now. You were living in San Diego, I think when we first met you, right? You were here, or have you been in LA the whole time?
No, I was living in San Diego.
That's
so,
what I thought. Okay.
I've been doing a couple of San Diego 48s there. I think I lived in San Diego for a decade as well.
Mhm.
And so I decided I was doing wedding videography. So I was trying to find another outlet to create films. And so we did creative films through the wedding videography outlet.
Okay.
And then I was like, you know what? I need to make the move to LA. So I decided to see what opportunities are here in LA.
Right, and it seems like it's paying off for you. Your career is just doing so well, and we're so thrilled for you. It's great. We know you brought a film to share with us tonight.
Yes.
Dwayne and I know this film very well. It was an audience favorite, and we're excited to see it again. I'm going to ask Dwayne again to mute my audio so I can laugh through it because it's such a great film.
Muting now.
So tell us, Bill, set this film up for us. Tell us about this film.
So as you can tell from my bio, I really love time travel. And so every year, whenever I draw that, the genre, I'm like, time travel. And if it's not time travel, this time it was fantasy. So I was like, I can still do time travel. So that year in 2015, we made a time travel film. And the idea was, I think, the new iPhone was coming out, and so we were like, oh, wouldn't it be cool to have an app where you can redo things? And so this is what that film is about.
Okay.
All right.
Awesome. Well, let's roll it, and I'll mute your audio so you can laugh too. All right, here we go.
Oh shit!
Having a crappy day? Tired of getting burned? Does your life stink? Hey, Dr. Alan Downing here, and I've been a life coach for 3 whole years. Want to fix those problems in your life? Well, there's an app for that. Quick Fix Free. It's a time travel app. Download our free app today, and you can change your life 10 seconds at a time, because sometimes that's all you need. If not, you can download our paid version.
What the f?
Hey, Dr. Alan Downing here. Tired of only getting 10 seconds at a time? Well, if you downloaded our paid version, you would have had more time. Download our app today. Click here for only $9.99. Click here for only $9.99. Click here for only $9.99.
What the fuck? Watch your step. Socks?
Mac McCarthy!
Doc Downing?
It's your kids.
What about my kids?
You gotta do something about your kids.
God damn it, I'm not gonna buy your stupid ass app.
Awesome.
Such a funny film. So good. You and DJ are like the best.
And you know, that's a great example. Robin mentioned it during your film. It's a great example of using really two locations. You shot that whole thing in two locations. So that's fantastic.
Or, yeah, I forgot that I was in it.
And that was your own hair. That was the best part. That was what you looked like in 2016.
I know, right?
Not a wig at all. Yeah,
that was also my first actual acting role with lines.
Well, you sold it, my friend. You totally sold it.
It was
totally
the best delivery.
Yeah, that was great.
When screening, I was totally shocked. Like when you guys announced and said we won for best use of character.
Right.
What? No way.
Yeah, no, it was a great film. The audience loved it. Dwayne and I both love it. We're not judges, but it's always just so much fun for us when we see the fun that you guys have and the creativity that you bring to the films. And that you guys, and this is something that Rawmix is especially good at, is really putting the characters forefront and the props forefront and the line, really including those things and not just using them as a little throwaway moment. You guys really work to include those elements, which I think is kind of the point. The point of the 48 is to include all those elements, and you guys do a very good job of that.
Yep. I remember the line was sometimes that's all you need. What was the prop? Was an umbrella, right?
And
no,
Alan
prop
Downey.
was flashlight.
Oh, it was the flashlight.
Okay, all right. Okay.
Yeah.
Because we did have an umbrella
the
prop
funny
on
thing
you.
about the flashlight is that we, at the end, we were like, we shot the whole film, and then we're like, oh, hey, check, we got everything. What? The prop? What are we going to do with the prop? And so that's what we ended up doing, is having him take out the flashlight out of the box.
That was pretty funny, too, because you think it's going to be this, like, big time, revelation moment. It's just a flashlight.
Somebody's soul getting Amazon, that you bought on Amazon. Yeah.
Exactly.
Awesome.
That was so good. Well, it's so good to see you, and we know that you're registered for San Diego this year.
Oh, yes.
We know you are. Usually, you're our first registrant. This year, you're our second. You made it second this year, but usually Rawmix is like right on it. You guys are our first team registered.
Yeah, because the New Year's Eve, I overslept. So when it was time for the register, I was like, oh shoot, I forgot. And then I looked and I was like, oh man, I'm second.
That's all right. It's still going to be a great year. We're looking forward to another great Rawmix film, and we're looking forward to seeing what you guys come up for us this year in September, coming up in just a few weeks. It's coming up soon.
Yeah, very soon.
Sure.
What's your plan for the safety on set and working around the COVID and around the pandemic?
I think we've been preparing for it. So we've shot a couple of films here in my house and kind of practicing that. But we're also going to take the precautions of like getting tested, of course, and of course what Mark mentioned. We're going to check out that website and just have a point person to make sure that we're abiding by the safety rules.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea, and Dwayne and I will be forwarding those safety rules and that website so that you can take that, that certification, the free certification in advance. Dwayne and I will be forwarding that to all of our team leaders, which includes you, and we are so looking forward to your film this year.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for taking time out of your evening to join us. Did you shut your door and the puppies aren't in the room right now?
Yeah, he would have been crazy.
Okay, well, give them a belly rub from us because they're very cute. This is, part of the fun of the pandemic, right? It's your video. Everybody, you get to see all their pets. So give your puppies a belly rub from me and Dwayne.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
All right. We'll see you soon, Romel.
Yeah, and thanks for being with us tonight. Really appreciate it.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Okay.
Thank you.
See you later.
See you. See you soon.
All right.
Yes, it was.
It was.
Bye.
Bye. Okay, I am so thrilled that we get to talk to Romel. I love his film and his team every year. They're just such a great addition to the 48 family. So our last guest this evening is John Goodson, who for decades has been building models and props as well as doing digital design for George Lucas's Industrial Light and Magic. Oh, I am on the wrong part here. Give me 1 second. Sorry, our teleprompter reset. That we already heard that part. You guys are so familiar with that already.
Yeah.
Let's see. We're almost there.
Getting close.
Da, da,
Getting
da,
close.
da, da. Here we go.
Here we go.
Our
Here we go.
final guest has something that my co-host and producing partner here has been looking for most of his life.
Man, you aren't kidding there. He has my dream job.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, since he was about 5 years old, he knew what he wanted to do, and that was work in special effects for film or television. And then once Star Wars came out, he had a focus. George Lucas's special effects company, Industrial Light and Magic.
Yes, after attending North Carolina State University School of Design, he worked on a number of jobs: exhibit design and set construction for movies, building architectural models and engineering prototypes, and even in an auto body shop doing repair work and painting.
I have done that.
And all the what? The painting or the repair work?
Both.
Both, yes.
Yeah.
You painted your own car.
I did.
It's pretty impressive. All the while hoping to get in with ILM, Industrial Light and Magic. Luck came his way when he was hired for a 1-week gig in ILM's model shop to help out on a simulator ride for the Walt Disney Company, and that ride was called Body Wars.
You know a little something about Disney.
I do. RIP Body Wars and the Wonder of Life Pavilion.
So
in
for
Epcot.
those of you who don't know, Robin is a former Disneyland ambassador.
Yes,
Okay.
I am. And it's very close to my heart. Body Wars, I've been on Body Wars, so it was awesome. It's gone now. It was the same ride system as Star Tours. Don't tell anybody.
Okay.
Okay, that 1 week that John spent there turned into 16 years with ILM.
16 years.
Yep.
OMG. Okay. During that time, John was approached to work doing concept models during the pre-production of the Star Wars prequels in the art department. He would spend a year or two in development on each film and then go back to ILM and work on the visual effects. Now, how cool is that? After Revenge of the Sith, he returned to ILM and transitioned from the real world of model shop to the digital world of computer graphics.
And by that time, it was apparent that the future of the visual effects industry was going to be primarily digital. John says whether it's done with a model spacecraft being filmed on a stage or a bunch of processors rendering shots, it isn't about what kind of tools are being used, but it's about visual storytelling.
That's so true. After an interesting ride getting to work on many of the things he loved as a kid, like Star Wars, John retired from ILM last year, 2019, and now he's back in the practical world building new models such as Mandalorian ship Razor Crest, and also restoring past film and TV models such as the USS Enterprise from the original series, which is now in the permanent collection at the Smithsonian's National Museum of American History.
Where we have been.
We have been.
Yes,
and we've
we
been
saw
in
the
their
original
collection
Muppets.
room.
We
Yes,
have, yes.
So please welcome John Goodson.
Yay! Hi, John.
Thanks for having me tonight.
Yeah,
Thank you
of
for
course.
being here. We're so thrilled to be talking with you. This
Yes,
is so
this is awesome.
this is such a treat for both of us.
Well, I like talking about this stuff. And, it's funny because you were saying 16 years. I was in the model shop for about 15 years and then transitioned to digital, and I did that for about 15 and a half years. So about quite 31 years. So, yeah, and then I left ILM last year, but the last thing I did was build a practical miniature for The Mandalorian that we shot with a motion control camera system. So we did it. It's ironic because this is what I started off doing when I came to the company. And that's what I left doing was that work, practical miniatures and motion control. And we just finished a new miniature for season 2. We just finished photography of that about 3 weeks ago.
Oh.
So been interesting.
My
doing
sons
both.
are going to be so excited. They're going to be so envious that I'm talking to you. They're huge Mandalorian fans. Huge. Such a great series.
So in the world of model building, just kind of take us through like your how you started doing it as a child and how that led you to ILM.
Well, when I was 5, we lived on an Air Force base, and our next door neighbor was a fighter pilot, and he got me watching the original Star Trek, and I was fascinated with it. And somebody gave me a copy of the Making of Star Trek book. So at 5 years old, I got that it wasn't real. This was all miniatures and sets and things like that. So I was totally intrigued with that. And there wasn't really a place to focus on particularly until Star Wars came out. And when that happened, then I started writing ILM letters saying, hey, I want to come and work for you guys, and I'm really excited. And they write me back and say, thanks so much for your letter. don't write us anymore. Your letter's on file. You know, we don't need to hear from you again. And I probably wrote him half a dozen times. And it was ironic because I got hired, like you said, I got hired for 1 week. And it was funny because I got hired on Body Wars. And they dropped me off in the front lobby. And they said, okay, Jeff Mann's going to come by and talk to you. And he's the guy that runs the shop and, you know, get all set up and everything. A couple hours went by and Jeff hadn't come by. And the guy who I talked to, Larry Tan, came by and goes, did Jeff come in? He goes, I said, no. He said, well, come with me. So he takes me down the hall and we go to the wood shop. And he's taking me to Steve Golly, who started, Steve was on the original Star Wars. And he goes, okay, I'm giving you to Steve. And just so you know, Steve hates rookies. So, okay, here you go. So he gives me a drawing of the miniaturization platform from Body Wars. He goes, build this. And he walks out. I didn't know where the bathroom was. I didn't know if I actually worked there. I didn't know anything, you know. And so I went out in the hall, ran into Dennis Murin, who I recognized from seeing in the making of stuff, and said, can you point me to the model shop? So he took me up there, and Bill George got me a desk. And it was 3 days before I ran into Jeff Mann out in the hall. And I said, hey, was I supposed to talk to you? I said, do I work here? And he goes, yeah, you're in. Yeah, I'm like, great. So that 1 week transitioned into almost 31 years, like we were saying. So,
what a great story.
Well, you know, it was ironic was years later, there was one of the warehouse bays away from the main complex at ILM. It was called Faraway Bay. And they were going to let that space go. And Jeff said, go down and see if there's anything we want in there. So I went in, and there was the full-size sand skiff from Return of the Jedi, full-size snow speeder, some of the mine cars from Indiana Jones, the speeder bikes from Return of the Jedi, all these props and stuff. Boxes and boxes, Stormtrooper costumes, Ewok costumes, just tons of stuff. And then all these wooden patterns that we used for the model work and stuff. And I'm looking at those. And in the very back corner, the right back corner of this warehouse bay was a little box about 6 inches square with all these letters crammed in it. And I thought, I wonder if my letter's in there. And I went over and indeed my letters were in that box, which was on file.
No, they weren't. That's
awesome.
amazing.
So I got my letters back, yeah, about 20 years later. But yeah.
Oh, man.
Wow. And now you've kind of come full circle in a way with the work that you're doing.
Well, it's weird because I think we were talking about yesterday. You know, my first thing I was really intrigued with was the Enterprise from the original series, and then to wind up working on the restoration of that model for the Smithsonian, that was a weird kind of full circle thing to be doing that. And then doing the practical work, then transitioning into computer graphics, and then now I'm back to practical. Again, that's another kind of bookend sort of thing. It's bizarre. I can't believe we're actually filming miniatures in 2020.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And super effectively. I mean, it's really just, it's so advanced and come so far. And I mean, with artists like yourself, you know, making these models, it's just really intricate and detailed and so beautiful.
So
really fun.
we have in the window scrolling, we have some stills that you sent. So I can pause on any one of these if you want to kind of comment on what we're looking at.
That was my
all
first.
of them. I want to hear stories about all of them.
Yeah, this was Ghostbusters 2, and it was a model of the Titanic. And I don't remember if they'd actually found the Titanic at that point. And so we had it as a complete ship with these holes in it, and then we had all the portholes illuminated, and it was really cool. I mean, in the shot, all this lighting is on. Unfortunately, we shot this thing for like 2 months, and we just shot it and shot it and shot it. And the hull kept getting smaller, and we got rid of all the lights, and it got a little less interesting, And by the time we finally, the finished shot, it looks like a matte painting. It just looked kind of flat, which was so unfortunate because it looks so cool to begin with. But, you know, it's one of those things, you know, we got it in front of the camera and then, you know, we start hearing art direction choices and things shifted and, you know, it transitioned. But that's so frequently what happens when you get on stage. And I remember, I don't know if you can see it in the photograph, but there are like belts that run along the hull horizontally front to back. So there's high, low, high, low, high, low. And those belts were about a 1/16 of an inch thick. And the way we built the model, I built it all pristine, and then we damaged it. And then Bill George had this idea. We sprayed the whole model with a clear lacquer and then dusted it with iron filings. Then we sprayed a patina solution on it. In about 3 hours' time, it was a complete rusted hull. And it was real rough. It looked amazing. But this so often happens on stage. They said, well, those plates, those horizontal plates, they're too thick. So we're going to take lunch. When we get back, we want those to be thinner. And I'm like, how am I supposed to make these things thinner over lunch? While they're off having lunch, I'm supposed to figure this out. And what I wound up doing was getting modeling clay and coming back in and sculpting between those plates up at the bow to make them thinner, and then try to fake it back in with paint and pastel. And it worked. But, man, that was pressure.
Oh, my goodness.
Wow.
How am I supposed to fix that?
Yeah, that's
But so that was my
amazing.
first
And you're right.
model.
That's not very much time to make a huge change like that. That's
Yeah. So often there would be like the camera guys would be like, "We're going to lunch. When we get back, we're going to shoot it." I'm like, yeah. So this was one of the concept models for episode 3, and this was incomplete, but it kind of gives you an idea of the level of detail for some of that stuff. And the Star Wars prequels were really great in that we had the luxury. George wanted to have all of these things built as concept models. This is one of the finished models in production. This is the Republic Cruiser, and this was 8 feet long. But the study model for that was 22 inches. This is the concept model for War of the Worlds. That's the Enterprise at Smithsonian. We're not quite done with the work yet, but that model's 11 feet 2 inches long. It's like a car. It's that
Oh my
big.
goodness. And this is in the American History Museum, right? The Museum of American History?
It's Air and Space. It's
Oh,
right now
it's at the Air and Space Museum. Okay.
It's at Air and Space in the gallery called Milestones of Flight, and it's the only non-flight item that's in Milestones of Flight.
Wow.
And that was the person who was in charge of the museum was a Marine general who really didn't want the Enterprise in there. And they had an open house at the Smithsonian. When they brought the model from the museum downtown, they brought it up to the Udvar Hazy Museum that's out at the Dulles Airport. And they had an open house, and people could come in. People camped out to see the Enterprise. And they took the general down and said, "You see this?" And the hall was packed with people wanting to see the Enterprise. And he got then the significance of it. So it did get put in Milestones of Flight. They are redoing that part of the museum right now, so the model's in storage right now.
Okay.
I'm not sure when it comes back out.
And can you talk a bit about the construction of this? Because that was done in the 60s, and
This was
with
done in
a
the
lot of the materials that weren't available that are available now.
Yeah, a lot of it's wood, which was really interesting because the lower hull is built like a barrel. It's actually made out of staves or planks that are side by side. And then that was turned on a lathe. So it's hollow inside, and when you look in, you can see the individual boards and everything. And then the struts that support the engines are actually, those are just pieces of hardwood, which are absolutely straight. This was made in like 1964, 65, and those pieces are still absolutely straight. And then the engines themselves up above that the strut connects to, from the strut forward, that was solid wood when they first built it, including the dome at the front of it. And then from the strut back, it's a piece of rolled steel, and the engine is slightly tapered. So that was a tricky thing to make, but it reduced the weight up there. When they did, well then, and the saucer is a material called Royalite, which is like an ABS plastic, and they thermoformed that over a plaster pattern. So it's essentially hollow with kind of a wooden frame in there to support it. And when they shot the first pilot, it didn't have lights in it. And when they went to do the second pilot, they decided to add lights. So they just cut the fronts of the engines off where those domes are and just took Forstner bits and just ground holes into the front. They put a motor in there. I think there was some phonograph, some broken mirror pieces, some Christmas lights, and a spinning dome inside the exterior dome. It had these fins on it, and it was motorized. And then they just literally drilled through the off-camera side, which is the side that we're all on right now in the photograph. They drilled through from the back, and they just plugged wires in and lights in from the back side of it. So it had an off-camera side that was wires and tape. And the idea was if they ever needed to see the other side, they could flop the film, and they had reverse decals made, which they didn't wind up using. But if you watch the episode called Mirror, Mirror, which is where there's an evil Mr. Spock and evil everybody, they took a gray piece of paper with the 1701 on it, and they wrapped that around the engine. And if you look at the footage, there's this flashing sequence where the Enterprise is going, I think, screen left to right. There's all this flashing, and then the Enterprise is going right to left. You can actually see, if you look at the footage, it's a piece of gray paper that's taped around the engine that has the numbers on it. So it's interesting. And that was one of the things that was talked about with the restoration was, do we finish the whole model, which is never the way it was, or do we restore it the way it was, which is what we did, and that's the right thing to do, because that's part of the story is that there was a camera side and an off-camera side.
Yeah.
Right.
Now this is Mission to Mars, and this was for one shot where this ship called the Remo satellite, it lands on the surface of Mars, and they had painted 100 acres up in Canada with latex paint and sent me some lava rock from the set, and I was really kind of amazed. I asked the art director, I said, is there not an EPA up in Canada? Because I don't think you can do that here.
I was thinking the same thing when you said that. We painted 100 acres. I was like, wow.
X-Files painted a rock quarry also, bright orange, so it would look like they were in Virginia as opposed to up in Vancouver, I think.
In Vancouver, yeah.
But so to match the color, I went up getting 60 pounds of Nestle's Quick for the surface of Mars, mixed with some painted cat litter and lava rock, and that was the surface of Mars. That's what you're seeing in the shot.
Huh.
It worked great. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing and delicious at the same time.
This is Star Trek First Contact, and that is the Cochrane warp ship, which was inside of a Titan II missile. And so we had to do a sequence where the Titan II missile peels away and then the warp ship comes out of it. And I watched Apollo 13, and they had a sequence like this where the lunar module's extracted. And I watched it and I'm like, how did they do that? They did it with computer graphics. That's how they did it. So we actually built a mechanism. There's a blue donut that I think it maybe is in the shot. I can't see it. But there's that blue ring at the back, and those doors are actually connected to that with stepper motors. So we actually did a mechanical gag that opened up. And they shot the forward part of the missile and the back part of the missile as two separate elements and composited them together. And the missile comes up from the Earth, and these things fly open, and the warp ship flies out, and it all, it's this big transition thing. But
very cool.
How
long did it take to build that model?
That was, I would say it's probably 8 to 10 weeks, and that involves a lot of people. All these models, they were really sophisticated, and this one had motors that made the warp nacelles come out, and the warp nacelles lit up. And things like this were always a big team effort. There'll probably be anywhere from 15 to 35 people involved in something like this, because you have machinists, you have pattern makers, mold makers, electricians, all these different people come into play for their specialties to make this stuff work. So it's a very big team effort to pull them off, and it's a lot of time, money, and effort. And this was just something I did for DK Books. It was the cutaway of Kylo Ren's lightsaber. And I was on another job. I didn't do the original prop. I just did the cutaway, but I was on another job where they had the props. I actually was able to have them both in the same place at the same time, which was kind of fun to see it. But I had pretty much total freedom to make whatever I wanted to the inside of it. So there's part of a little Soyuz capsule in there and it's a kyber crystal that I got at Michael's Arts and Craft. Yeah. So that was just a little prop job.
Very cool.
This is restoration work that was the Ares from 2001: A Space Odyssey, which the AMPAS, the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, has this as part of their collection for their upcoming museum.
And this was a restoration job here, right?
This is a restoration job that's almost completely finished at this point. But the thing with 2001 was all of the miniatures were supposedly destroyed by Kubrick at the end of production. That's always been the story. But there were photographs of the space station that were taken in 1974, and it's sitting in a field, which proved that something existed past, production was 67, 68, I think. And so people always wondered if these things were around, and this thing turned up about 4.5 years ago at auction.
Wow.
The guy had it in his potting shed, and the story was that he lived in the same community as Stanley Kubrick, and he had done some work for Kubrick, and in lieu of payment, he was given the model. So this thing had lived in the potting shed, and it had had a hard life. It had house paint, crayon, a lot of corrosion, rain damage, and then someone had glued a lot of parts back on in the wrong places, and it's almost 50 years old.
Wow.
And it wasn't stored in an environmentally controlled area. So it's had a pretty tough life, but surprisingly it's in relatively good shape, all things considered. And like I said, the restoration's almost complete.
Yeah.
This is, I think this is a Republic gunship from Episode 2 of Star Wars, and this was the art department concept model. And I realized when we were doing these concept models that we weren't going to build miniatures anymore. On Episode 1, we built a lot of miniatures. We built most of the pod racers as large-scale models. Almost all of the spacecraft were really big. They were all usually around 8 feet. And I realized on Episode 2, we weren't going to have any miniature spacecraft. We were doing set extensions, set pieces, and pyro mandrels. So I kind of made the art department models a lot more sophisticated than, they're almost like shooting models.
Yeah.
So, study model. This was Star Trek First Contact. This was the last time a physical Enterprise model got built. And I was the model supervisor on that show. And Enterprise was about 10 feet long.
Wow.
So that was a big job.
Yeah,
and how long did it take to build that once the concept was locked?
It seemed to take forever. And it was complicated in that we were being fed drawings. John Eves was doing the design work on it, and John had sent me some sketches, and he sent me a model he made that was a prototype concept model. And then a guy named Rick Sternbach, he worked on Next Generation and a lot of the other Star Trek projects. Rick was doing blueprints for us, and he had given me blueprints for the saucer and the engineering hull below. And then the blueprints stopped coming. And I called Rick and said, "What's going on?" He goes, "I'm on contact. I'm up in Seattle, man." I'm like, "Well, okay." So if you look at the Enterprise, I had 266 Mustangs at the time, and I had a guy who was working on the show who was driving one of those cars. And we were looking at the strut that holds the engine up, and I said, "There's a detail on the side of the Mustang. It's this chrome thing that's over there. It has little fins on it, little intake things." I said, "Copy that and stick it on the Enterprise." So if you look at First Contact Enterprise, it's got this detail from the 66 Mustang on the strut.
Nice.
Yeah.
Now this looks like, I'm going to bring it up full screen, but it looks like it looks to me like the Hindenburg. Is that correct?
It's a take on the Hindenburg. It's the Luxembourg from Rocketeer.
I can't believe you didn't know that. That's one of your favorites.
I was kind of close.
You love the Rocketeer.
This was really interesting because we built one model of this. It was 33 feet long. And usually, if you're going to do pyro, we used to always build 3 because pyro is not an exact science, and it's different every time you do it. And so, in this case, they didn't want to spend that much money, so we built 1 and hoped it would all work out. And so we had this thing. It rolled around on a cart, and there were 6 holes in the bottom of it that were about 4 inches wide and about 22 inches long. They were the connection points for the cart. And we took this thing out to an abandoned Air Force base to shoot it because we had an open horizon behind it. And we said, before you guys put the explosives in it, let us close up the bottom because we have to iron this material on with an iron that's plugged in. Oh, no problem. So it was a night shoot. So we break for lunch or dinner or whatever it is you have at 2 in the morning. We come back out. The model's 25 feet in the air and it's loaded with 10 black powder and kerosene bombs. And the kerosene is running out of the holes in the bottom of it. And they're like, we got to go up and iron the bottom shut. And they're like, well, they gave us these Nomex suits that cover everything but your face and hands. And we went up there and we did it. There's a picture of me in Cinefex magazine, like I'm terrified, holding the iron up, sealing this thing up.
Right.
But we got it all closed up and everything. And then it was important to the story that there were 10 bombs in there. They were going to start at the nose and progress 1 through 10 towards the tail. There were 2 cables that held the model up. When it got to 10, there was a guy when it gets to 10, you cut the wires, and then it would drop out of frame. And we were shooting it, I think, 320 frames a second, so it scales, it makes it like 12 seconds long. 1 second becomes 12 seconds. And we had about 80, 85 people out there, and fans and cameras and lights and all that stuff. I think we had 6 high-speed cameras. And we went to shoot it, and they yelled action, and bomb number 1 went off, and bomb number 10 went off, and the guy cut the cables. And as it plunged to the ground, 2 through 9 went off, but it basically went out of frame. It dropped out of frame, and it blew up. And in 15 seconds, there was nothing really left of it. But we got shot, and the model was gone. The model was destroyed. So a second model, I think there was like 8 or 10 weeks left before the film was going to come out. And the first model took like 8 months to build. The second model got built. There were 3 shifts around the clock. So the second one got built in about 8 weeks. And that's the one that's in the movie.
Wow.
So, yeah. It was interesting because I was standing next to a guy named Dickie Dova, and Dickie was actually at the Hindenburg. He was 2 years old, and his father was on the Hindenburg, and he was there when it blew up.
Wow.
And I was standing next to Dickie when it did all this. The number 1 went off, number 10 went off, and fell off on the ground and blew up. And I turned around to Dickie and said, "Is that what was supposed to happen?" He goes, "I don't think so. I don't think so." And that was definitely not what was supposed to happen.
Right, yeah. No, definitely not. Wow.
And this looks like the front of the space shuttle. Is that correct?
This is Deep Impact, and that was the close-up version of the lander they had in the film that lands on this comet. And I was just doing detail on it. But again, these kinds of models, this is, there are usually somewhere between 15 and 40 people involved in building something like this. Because like I said, pattern makers, electricians, mold makers, people that do the paint work, all the various skills that are required to do something like this. And, there are these incredibly elaborate prototypes, just like the Rocketeer Zeppelin, and you take them out on stage, and you hope it's going to work the first time. And sometimes you're lucky and it does, but oftentimes there's a learning curve with this stuff. If you did it 5 times, by the time you did it the 5th time, you know exactly how to do it. But the first time, you're kind of tough. But this worked great. This was just mostly for close-ups of it landing. That was one of the pod racers for episode 1. This guy.
Ooh, I recognize that.
Yeah. So that thing was about 3.5, 4 feet long, the engine. So the whole pod racer was probably 8 feet long.
Wow.
We had probably about 10 of those that we built, that big, in that scale. And the next picture, that was the Jedi Temple, I think from episode 1. I think that's where you see it. It could be 2. But that was just another big miniature. Episode 1,
did you go to Fox Studios Australia for those productions?
Nope. We did all this stuff in San Rafael at ILM.
Okay.
But we built, I think we had a 60,000 square foot warehouse that was full of models from episode 1. We built more stuff for episode 1 than any of the other Star Wars movies ever. And this is some digital stuff from Solo, from the Han Solo movie that came out a couple of years ago.
Yep.
And that's just, like I said, I spent about 15 years doing just all digital. So, and now I'm back to doing practical. But I really enjoyed this. I was doing the paint. So paint work was what I was doing for these.
Wow.
That's incredible that that's digital.
And when you do, let me go back to that one. When you do paint like that, do you look at real world examples of things that are actually weathered to kind of get a feel for what might come across as being real in film?
Yeah, you definitely look at real stuff. And the other thing you can do is you can actually map photographs of real things onto the digital model often. And so you incorporate as much of that as you can, because all that weathering and detail and corrosion, all those things, that all adds up to making it look real, and pulling in as much real world stuff as you can. It's like Transformers. They tried to do that initially with those robots clean. It didn't look right at all. So they knew that the chips and the scoring and the scrapes, all those things to give it scale and kind of ground it in reality. So
right,
yeah,
I remember early on one of the shows that I loved was Space Above and Beyond.
Yeah.
And one of the things, this was one of the first TV shows to have, digital effects and digital ships and everything in it. And one of the things that always troubled me was that they were dirty, but it was perfect dirt, and I think that there's an art to having something dirty but doesn't look like it was perfect dirt.
Well, it's funny, I remember watching, was it Sky Captain? In the World of Tomorrow. And they had these big flying aircraft carrier things, and all the dirt was symmetrical, and it was the same on every single one of them. I'm like, oh yeah, you might want to get because we were doing red tail. We were doing red tails, and we had B-17 bombers, and I think we had a way of kind of changing all the registration numbers and all that stuff to anything we wanted. But I think we had 4 different basic paint variations in terms of dirt and weathering, and we could alternate them so that it didn't all look like the same airplane. That's that Republic gunship in the initial stages when George was looking at it, and that was the thing. We would see George on Friday. He would review all the drawings or the paintings or the models. And we would get some input from him, and then we wouldn't see him again until the next Friday. So you were on your own over the week to kind of interpret what he said and build it. And it was really interesting. It was a wonderful luxury to have, because once those models were built, they were a 3D blueprint for the model shop or the States Department, or if we sent it over to the UK for them to build, or for the digital department. It was, that was it. That was it, defined as a 3-dimensional blueprint. So,
and you guys were up in Marin, right? That's where ILM was located?
That ILM was in Marin on Kerner Boulevard, and the art department was out at Skywalker Ranch. We were right above.
Oh, yes, okay.
Yeah, so we were right there.
Yeah.
That's another shot of the Titanic. That was when it had this big gaping hole. The hole got much, much smaller as things went on. But you can see that real rust. It's really amazing.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's amazing how quickly that that whole thing went down too.
Now I've seen people use adhesive, like spray adhesive, and then sprinkle it with cinnamon to get rust look on things.
Clever.
And it smells really good.
Yeah, I did. It was Hocus Pocus. We did a shot at the end of the movie where this gate opens and these 2 ghosts, a guy and a little girl, walk off into the distance. We used U-Ban coffee for the ground, red pepper flakes for the man, that set smelled amazing. You walk out there, it's like Starbucks.
I bet it did, yeah.
I think Robin is not a coffee person, but
I love the smell, though.
I was about to say, I bet she wishes it tastes as well as it smells.
I do. Coffee does not taste good, but it was good.
Now, is this when we met at the shipyard in Bremerton many years back, you were telling me about I think it was Mission Impossible 2 and the helicopter flight into the tunnel. Is that what these helicopters are?
Yeah. This is Mission Impossible 1. This was where it flew they were in the tunnel, and it hits the train, and then the helicopter flips inside the tunnel.
Right.
And we were set up to do that. We had 6 helicopters for that to start with. There were 2 that were designed to pitch up. We had a 600-foot track outdoors. There was 140 feet of tunnel set. And the reason we had 600 feet of track was the train, which also had the Empire high-speed camera on it and a video tap. And that was on one carriage that ran on the railroad, and then that was connected with a cable to another carriage that had the helicopter on it. So that all traveled as one unit, but they needed 600 feet of track for it to get up to 50 miles an hour. And so they would get this thing screaming through there, and it would go into the tunnel, and there was a guillotine door on it that had a photograph of the set extended, so it looked like it went off into the distance. But I think the rotors were turning 2,000 RPMs, and the model was going 50 miles an hour. And we had 2 that were designed to do that. Yeah. It's kind of scary because, this thing's screaming down the track, and it goes inside the tunnel, and the door closes. You don't see it. You just hear it. And there were 2
That's crazy.
Well, there was hit the ceiling, and the rotors would shear off. So that was one shot. Then we had 4 helicopters were designed to get knocked off. They got shot off the little trolley in there, and then they would tumble inside the tunnel. We did the tumble 36 times.
Oh,
and
man.
we're rebuilding. This is the process of rebuilding these destroyed helicopters. We get 2 just totally destroyed models. And by 7 o'clock that night, we had to have 2 that look good again to go back out in the tunnel. And let me tell you, by the time we're at take 36, these things are like Frankenstein together. They're barely hanging together. And you can see the levels of destruction in that photograph where they're just these charred ruins.
Right.
Ones that are almost clean again. Yeah,
So-
it was an interesting project.
Now, there was also a mishap with the train during this, right?
Oh, that's right. Because, when they were testing the speed, we were out there one night and they ran the whole trolley, the whole thing with the Empire camera and the train. All that stuff came screaming down the tunnel. And you hear it coming in the dark. You hear the door come down and it's inside. And then there's this, it just came flying out the other end. And there's no more train. And the camera and the train and everything went cartwheeling off and just tumbling through the dirt. And heard this collective from everybody out there like, oh my God, The helicopter stopped. Well, the way it worked, the helicopter had a brake caliper from a car. And the track was 1-inch steel square tube. It would grab the track. Well, it worked so well that the piece of 1/4-inch aircraft cable that connected the 2 trolleys together just sheared in half.
Oh, man.
So the helicopter stopped. It stopped inside the tunnel, and the camera and the train and everything else came up the other end and just tumbled out in the dirt. And the Empire high-speed camera, that's the only one of those that exists. And everybody was like, God, camera. All they did was break the focus ring on it. That was it. But that's the learning curve. It's like, okay, when it comes to at 55 miles an hour, how well do the brakes work? They work really well. I mean, it stopped. The rest of it came out the other end.
Oh,
But that's, again, it's prototyping, and that's that was the fun part about the model shop was you are problem solving all the time.
Yeah.
How do you do this stuff? And what's the surface of Mars? Well, how are we going to do that tomorrow? Okay, Nestle's quick. This was the Federation battleship from episode 1. It was just a huge paint job. All this is vinyl stenciling for all these little panels that are all over the ship.
Okay.
But you might spend 3 or 4 weeks taping and masking everything. You'll spend 10 minutes spraying it. You'll spend 15 minutes stripping it off, and then you might do a second layer. They'll take another month to put on. Use the tape. But that's how you build up those layers of detail in the physical paint job.
And these are all hand cut, right?
These were laser cut out of vinyl.
Laser cut. Okay.
Yeah, we had gotten a laser cutter by then, and this sped things up quite a bit.
Yeah,
but that all has to be perfect. It has the correct radius and arc to it.
Yeah. Yeah, I know you can't cut styrene on a laser for sure. You just get a black smoky mess.
Melt it.
Yeah.
Great job. Yeah. But that was a big model. That thing weighed a ton. This was the Mos Eisley outdoor set, and this was about a 40-foot by 40-foot miniature of the Mos Eisley, the town. I think this was episode 2. So we had that whole thing as a miniature outside. And we did a lot of that. On episode 1, we had the Pod Race Arena, and that was, again, about a 40-foot square set, and we had parts of Naboo that were large cityscapes. So this was kind of a lot of...
Look at the detail of that. Like towards the center bottom, it looks like a little awning there. And, man.
Little awnings, all kinds of little stuff.
Wow.
And it was a whole city. It's 40 square feet of that.
Man.
Wow.
Well, 40 feet on either side. It's more than 40 square feet.
Oh, there's another great shot of the
Sorry,
Titanic.
that's the first shot that we started with before it rewound itself. But so this is before the rust, looks like.
No, this has got the rust on it, but this is before the belt tightening.
Okay.
This was also when all the portholes lit up and everything, which was really cool.
Post-rust, pre-belt tightening.
Yeah.
Now I'd like a full-size version of this in my garage that I can
you really don't.
commute with.
You really don't. Have you ever been around one of these things when you see the full-size one? Have you ever been around those?
I've seen a couple of things, at Star Wars exhibition stuff.
I'm always kind of disappointed because it looks like the best spaceship you could make if Home Depot made spaceships. That's always how it strikes me.
Okay. Well, I kind of meant a working version that I could commute with.
Yeah, like a real one.
Sure, yeah.
All right.
He's not kidding though. He
There we
really
go.
would like that. Oh, okay. So this is the one that we saw earlier, but
Yeah.
at the Smithsonian On exhibit.
Yeah, and this looks like it's at the gift shop at the Natural or the American History Museum.
This is at Milestones of Flight in Air and Space, and you can see the
Oh,
bottom
it
of
is.
the
Okay.
right?
Okay.
Yeah. So this is where it was last on display, and it's interesting because you can see down below on the down there. There's one of the original wooden domes. That's one of the ones that was cut off.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I see down at the bottom of the picture. Yeah.
So someone had kept that.
Dwayne loved this museum. I could have lost him for 2 weeks in this museum, and he would not have minded.
I would still
At
be
all.
there.
He
I'd
would.
still be there.
Yeah. Well, that one's great, and then Udvar Hazy is really great too. They're both really amazing. And we restored the Enterprise out of Udvar Hazy, so we were there for 2 weeks working in the restoration hangar.
Wow.
That was amazing.
Yeah.
That was.
I bet.
We had to have a card key to go to the bathroom. We couldn't go to the bathroom without an escort with a card key.
Oh, wow.
And it took me, well, I didn't know for the first week I could actually get out of the hangar on my own. I just couldn't get back in, but I didn't know if I could get out.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was amazing. That was really cool. Oh, this is the destroyer droid from episode 1. This is the concept model. And this was interesting because Doug Chang gave me 3 different pieces of artwork, and they were all different. He said, use these as an inspiration and build this thing. So I built a version of it out of paper and plastic that would do the whole, it would roll up, because this thing rolls up into like a wheel. And it rolls when it goes places, then it opens up and it turns into this thing. So I built a version of it that I could actually turn into the wheel and made sure it all worked. And then once that worked, then I built kind of fleshed out version of it and built this. I built a second model of it that was the closed up version. So it was interesting to work all that stuff out.
Wow.
This was Galaxy Quest, which was a lot of fun.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Yeah, that was a great movie to work on, and I thought the stuff came out really beautiful. And
Yeah,
that
that's just a great movie, for sure.
Yeah.
Several
Well, I got
San
to do a
Diego
lot-
filmmakers were just discussing that film recently, so I know that we have a lot of big fans here.
Now this is interesting because it gives a really good idea of the scale of the 2001 ship.
Yeah, that model's about 30.5 inches in diameter.
Wow.
So it's not gigantic, but it's big. It's big. It's a plexiglass sphere, and then it's been detailed out with more acrylic, and the landing gear were brass and steel. But interestingly, it definitely had a side that was exposed to the weather because one of those landing gear was so corroded that we had to machine. There were rods that run through the brass pieces, and the rods were steel. They had bonded together. I think the metals, the electron counts had kind of merged, and so you couldn't separate the steel from the brass. So we actually had to machine the steel rods out, which was interesting. Gave it to machinist and watch him take it 2,000s at a time, drilling this thing out until he drilled out the rods. But ridiculous to get it out. But yeah. Oh, this is
And
Razor
that-
Crest. This was
I was going to say that
Mandalorian.
looks like Razor Crest.
Yep, that was Mandalorian, and that was a 3D print. That's what that started off as, and it was about 50 pieces. So it was all small pieces, and I think the expectation was I could just take all these 3D print pieces and glue them together and make the model. And this stuff is really delicate, and you have to seam every one of those joints of all those little pieces. And then it had build lines in it from the 3D print. So what I wound up doing was putting it all together and then cleaning the whole thing up and then taking a mold off of it and casting it in epoxy fiberglass, because I have to cut mount doors and things like that in it, and those mount doors have to basically be invisible. They have to come in and out, but you can't tell they're there. You can't do that with the 3D print parts. And so started off as a 3D print, but it became a physical, epoxy fiberglass model ultimately. And then the whole thing was skinned with aluminum.
So can you email me the 3D print files?
I don't have the 3D print files. I don't have them.
That's what he says, Dwayne.
That's what he says. You know he had a thumb drive. I know he did.
Yeah, that was a really fun thing. We actually shot it.
Look at that.
Yeah, that's the Queen ship from episode 1.
Yeah.
And it was 11 feet long, and we had it CNC machined. A company that did car prototypes down in Los Angeles, they CNC'd it out of foam. And then we made molds from that, and then did fiberglass castings. And then the fronts of the engines, the spikes or the cones at the front, those are solid aluminum that was turned, and the spikes on the back are solid aluminum. And they were really dangerous because they are needle sharp at the very back. But then the rest of it's fiberglass, and then we weren't sure how to do this. We weren't sure whether to send it out and have it chrome plated or what to do with it. And ultimately we used up Mylar film that was silver. And that's what we used for the silvering on it.
Is it like a leafing, like a gold leaf type of that? Or not really?
No, we looked at something like that too, but George wanted it to be as if it were a chrome bumper. So the Mylar film is like a plastic film that won't take a compound curve. You can roll it up like a tube, but you can't wrap it around, like you couldn't wrap it around a ball. It'll wrinkle, but it won't wrap.
Oh, I see.
So,
okay.
Well, what we do is we lay out big panels of it, and then leave them. And the next day we'd come in and it would wrinkle symmetrically, and we'd put panel lines. We'd cut it there because that told us where the stress point was.
Oh, wow.
Over the course of a week, we could see where things were going on, and we would relieve the stress and put new panels in it. And that's how we did it. It worked really well.
Wow. And then what did you use to adhere the Mylar to the?
It was a self-adhesive Mylar. So it was pressure sensitive.
Okay. And then I imagine there was a lot of sanding and prep work that had to be done because it would probably show every little flaw.
Yes, absolutely. It was polished like glass.
Yeah.
Before we did the
Wow.
Mylar, it was like glass. Yeah. So and that's the concept model for the Federation battleship, and it's 16 inches in diameter. And that little tiny thing in the front there, that's the first model of the Republic cruiser, which was the red one we saw in the picture earlier. But that little tiny thing is about 1 1/8 inches long. But that was enough to show to George and go, basic proportions. Was that what you want? And he was like, yeah. So from that, I kind of extrapolated that out to 22 inches, and then once the 22 inches was approved, we built the 8-foot one.
Wow.
Yeah, and then the Federation battleship model wound up being 8 feet in diameter, but this was the basis for it.
Wow.
But like I said, this was a wonderful luxury to have this. Now this stuff is done all pretty much in the computer when they do pre-visualization stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And having worked at it a lot from a practical standpoint, and also, seeing the digital part of it, I know that the way I make decisions, I pick up shapes and things like that. It might be a race car body and, a detergent bottle that has an interesting shape, and put these things together physically and look at it and go, wow, that really looks good. I don't have that luxury in computer graphics because I have to make it all.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Rarely, you don't have it's not like you can kit bash it that well. So I think you have a very different experience when you do concept models if you actually physically build them.
Mm-hmm.
You get to find relationships you wouldn't have in the computer graphics version of it. And some of the work I've done with Mandalorian, it's interesting because you can tell things were designed on a computer because the complexity is so high that it's at the limit. It's kind of almost at the limit of what you can physically do as a human being. There's so much stuff, So it's interesting to watch the technologies merge and how things go over time, and the fact that we're back doing some practical miniatures. I'm stunned that we're doing it. I'm thrilled that we're doing it, but I'm kind of stunned that we're actually doing it too. But yeah, it's really bizarre to be back doing that. But it seems natural.
When you're building a model like that and you're adding all the greeblies to it to make it look cool and everything, and give whatever look that you're going after, at what point do you decide, or is it driven by time that you're finally like, okay, we're done? Or is if you kept going, you could keep going and going if it wasn't for the calendar?
You could go forever because it's one of those things where you can add it. You can keep going on and on and on if you want to. And that's that thing they say about a work of art is never finished, it's abandoned.
Right.
But then there's sometimes when you look at it and like you're applying, you're doing the kit bash and you're putting the model parts on there. There are a couple things you have to be aware of. One of them is that you're trying to telegraph mechanical language. You want it to make sense. Because when you look at the Millennium Falcon, it's covered in all these model parts, but it looks as if it does something.
Mm-hmm.
So I always try and envision a reason why that thing's there. There's a system or something like that. And it doesn't matter if anybody else ever knows what I think it is.
Mm-hmm.
If I can convey the fact there's functionality to it, that's what I'm after, is to make that mechanical language. I'm lying to you, but if I do it well, you don't realize you've been lied to.
Yeah.
And so sometimes you look at it and you go, okay, that's good. I've got enough coverage here. That's good. But you can always add more stuff to these. And then when they go out on stage, it's another thing because you put a camera on it, and you may have been looking at it for 6 or 7 months while you're building it, but you put a camera on it and it sees it differently.
Mm-hmm.
And suddenly you're addressing things to camera, stuff that you never even noticed that, well, that's crooked. Well, I never noticed it when I was building it, but when you put a camera on it, you're like, oh, wow, yeah, very clearly see that. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of that finessing that goes on right before the shot. And, it used to be that we would shoot multiple days on a shot, so you'd get a chance to see it on film, see what works, what doesn't work, maybe go out on stage another couple hours today and you'll do a little bit more, and it got better over the course of time. We don't have the luxury of that now. We're on a tighter schedule these days.
Yeah.
And it's also interesting that we do it with a lot less people because we just did a shoot. We did the whole shoot with 3 people. And, it was really interesting because, we're just jumping in. The 3 of us are doing all of it, and it was really cool. But it's like filmmaking, seat your pants. Filmmaking.
Yeah.
Right. So, John, tell me what you were like as a kid. Was your bedroom just covered in models? Were you always a model builder? Were you always creating things out of other things? All that? Like, I see your room that you're in. Tell me about that.
It's behind me, right? There's stuff everywhere. I have got so much crap it's kind of like we've got a lot of the fires are right around us right now, and I'm like,
Right.
it's kind of almost like a blessing to burn this place down. Just, your stuff owns you after a while, and that's definitely how I feel.
Yeah.
I've got so much of it.
So what do you have there with you that you can show us?
I see C-3PO, don't I?
There's a C-3PO. That's the bridge of the Federation battleship.
Okay.
But that was we used this one. We built a larger scale version of it. Just this part from here to here was about 5 feet tall.
Oh man!
So we didn't know exactly what we were seeing in the shot. So originally this was painted red everywhere that you saw in the shot, and then that was the guide to build the big one. But there's stuff. This is an escape pod from Star Trek: First Contact. It's not painted, but it's built.
Yeah.
But I build this stuff. I build stuff all the time from scratch. So there's stuff everywhere. This is the concept model for Galaxy Quest. That's the protector.
Yep. That's amazing. Amazing.
Yeah.
And how, as a model builder, how much input do you have on the design of a model once you get it from a designer?
It ranges. Every production's different, and everybody you work with is different. So some people's expectation is that it'll be exactly that thing, and other people give you a lot of latitude. It's all different, But that's also kind of the cool part.
Yeah.
I love being able to get a sketch. That was why I like doing the concept models. They would give me a sketch, and from that, you might only see a 3/4 view. You don't know what the back looks like, but I would build the back too. I build the whole thing, and I loved having that freedom. And I was really good at interpreting 3-dimensional shapes. So, yeah.
It's fascinating. I really could. You said you could talk all night. I could listen to you and just be so fascinated by.
I told John on our tech call that the stream might go until Sunday morning.
It's so fascinating to hear all of this and just, listen about your art and the way your brain works and everything. It's just so fascinating to me. This is so great.
Now you two, Robin, you and John, you have kind of a similar story in that your story about seeing the Disneyland ambassador in a parade.
I kind of wanted to do that my whole life and just sort of made it a goal and kept applying until either they got sick of me or something else happened, but they gave me the job. So you're right. Tenacity. Yeah. Tenacity pays off.
Well, I feel really fortunate that I got to ILM when I did. I got there in August of '88, and, all the first 3 Star Wars movies had been made, but I was working with the people that made those movies, that worked on them. And the model shop was a really interesting community, and we're all still really close. It's very interesting because the model shop, we still get together regularly, and it's kind of like a big extended family. And I am so thankful for that experience, and that I got here when I did, before computer graphics had kind of eroded that so much. And simple as hell that we're doing some of it now. I just can't believe we're actually doing miniatures and motion control. It's amazing.
Well, and when I was working for Disney, I got to meet the amazing Peter Ellenshaw, who is a matte painter, right? Of course, I'm sure you know who he is, but if for other people who don't, he did the matte paintings for Mary Poppins, et cetera, many films. And there's that procedure, that skill is still being used today. They're using matte painting, and so you guys are kind of like the pioneers of the new ways of doing these models, and you're kind of in on the ground floor with that, and it's such an honor to sit here and talk with you about all of this. It's so great.
Well, it's been fascinating to watch the evolution of all of it because film was basically a photochemical practical world for about 100 years or more. Then to see it become digital, and I remember we talked about on episode 1 we shot digitally for the first time, and I thought this is never going to work. Give me film, and it was interesting, and one of the things we saw was that with the digital stuff, things that we could get away with on film, it used to be, our rule of thumb was if it was for TV, well, if it was for film, unfocus your eye and look at it with your eye kind of soft. If it was for TV, you could close your eyes. And then we started shooting digital, and it's like, a piece of black tape, it looks just like a piece of black tape. Stuff that we could get away with didn't work. And it's an interesting thing because I've had this conversation a few times with other people. John Landis was one of them, John Knoll, John and his brother invented Photoshop, and John's he's the key creative at ILM. But we've talked about high frame rate film because The Hobbit, they did that, and they were shooting, I don't know what the frame rate was, but it was 60 or better. And it had a very strange quality to it. You had the high frame rate and the high resolution, and to me it was really strange because I could see the makeup, I could see, the foliage, the blankets they're using to look like grass and stuff like that. You could see it all. And I'm like, what's going on? And John Landis said, why does this stuff look like crap? I don't get it. And John Knoll said, well, I just don't think people they haven't gotten there yet in terms of the skill set. They haven't made the adjustment to what's required. But I kind of look at it and think, there's something else going on. And I read a study, there was a scientific study. They said anything below 40 movements a second, your eye sees differently. It's a cinematic type experience.
Mm-hmm.
Anything above 40, you see it as reality. And so that high frame rate stuff, the reason it looks like high school drama class is because you're seeing it in a different way and it looks real. And it was fascinating because The Hobbit, I was at the visual effects bake-off at the Academy, and they showed the footage of the dragon for that, and that's shown at the high frame rate. Everything is as optimum as it could be, and it didn't look big to me. It looked small. It looked strange, and I didn't buy it. And then I was at a different awards thing, and they showed it on a projector that was not high frame rate. It was not particularly high resolution, and it looked way better. And I thought, this is just my personal. Well, it's just my personal opinion about it, but I thought, wow, give me the lower resolution, crappy frame rate any day over the,
Yeah.
But it is an interesting question. It's like, is it because people's skill set hasn't evolved to be able to compensate for that, or is there really some sort of a barrier where it's like, it's not going to look real because there's something going on, So that's an interesting conundrum about the evolution of this stuff.
Right, there's a limitation. Yeah, there's limitations to it.
May or may not be. We'll see. But I think the next Avatar films are going to be high frame rate films, so it's going to be interesting to see what that looks like. So. But it's interesting. The technology has evolved so much, and just since I came in '88, to take that leap from the 100 years of photochemical practical into digital and see how much it's changed, it's phenomenal how much it's changed in such a short span of time, and it's continuing to evolve. So.
Yeah.
Look at the TVs we've got at home.
Right.
You get an 8K TV now, or I didn't get a 4K. I don't think you can get an 8K. But
and they're getting to the point where digital is exceeding, or very close to exceeding, the resolution of film.
Yeah. I mean, at a certain point, it's like, how much do you really want to see? Because I don't need to see the subatomic.
Yeah, there are some things that can just remain a mystery, and that's all right.
So we're going to need to wrap up here in a second, but I want to ask you, what makes you geek out?
That's a good question.
You know what got me the most out of all the stuff I saw at ILM? The one that got me the most when we were doing episode 3 was Peter Mayhew put on the Wookiee costume, and he came out in the parking lot, and we did a group photo with him. I was like, oh my God, that is Chewbacca, because Peter walked a certain way, and it was him. And I'm like, somebody else can put on the Darth Vader outfit or 3PO and stuff, but that's him. And that got me more than anything else. And the whole time I was there, that really got me. I was a little kid. I'm like, oh my God, that's really Chewbacca,
That would have gotten me too. That would have gotten me too, for sure. That's very cool.
Yeah.
Oh, what a special memory.
Yeah.
That's so great.
Yeah, very cool.
I can't thank you enough. This has been just the coolest.
It has been, for sure.
What a great time. What a great evening in general. But this, just hearing all of your stories and
So, one more question. What did you think of the 2 48-hour films that you saw? Have you ever seen any before, or what did you think?
I laughed my head off. I don't know if you guys could see me. But
we could see you. We actually were saying, look, he's laughing.
I was having a great time watching them. I really enjoyed it. It was really fun.
The filmmakers are incredible, really incredible, and Dwayne and I are super lucky to be producers here in San Diego, and meet these filmmakers from around the world. And we met Sergio, and we saw, of course, Bill in his film, and we know Rommel, and these guys are just family, and it's amazing to see what they put together year to year. It really is.
And then
with the
48 hours, start to finish, they get a genre, a character, and a prop, and a line of dialogue
no sleep.
on Friday night. And by
sleep.
Sunday night, they have these films that you saw. It's really, it's impressive. It's impressive.
Yeah, and it's amazing also to see the difference in the work that's done, especially with the 4 Points Film Project, because that's we've had as many as 200 teams participate in that, but that's a worldwide competition that kicks off at 7 p.m. on a Friday in every time zone. So it was a logistic mess putting that together. The first year especially, because we accidentally scheduled the first year that we produced it, we scheduled that for the weekend of the time change without realizing it. And some places change and some places don't. And some places change by they're a half hour off
oddly,
of everyone else. So
lesson learned.
Lesson learned.
Nightmare.
Yeah, exactly. But we made it through.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, John, for spending part of your evening with us. This has been a real
It
treat.
was fantastic.
Thank you very much.
And I look forward to getting those 3D files from you.
The printer files.
I had them, maybe. I don't.
All right.
Thank you, John.
Thank you so much.
Thanks. Holy cow!
Wow.
What a jam-packed show! It's
was
been
great.
so awesome. I love talking to our fellow filmmakers and artists and bringing their creativity to this whole international 48 HFP audience from our little corner of the world here in San Diego. We want to again thank our sponsor, CG Creative Studios, for graciously allowing us the use of their facilities to bring you these live streams.
These geek out live streams. All right. So whether your city's 48-hour film project has already happened, is coming up, or is postponed until next year, you can tune in to us to bring you all the latest 48-hour film project news and information. Our San Diego 48 is coming up in just a few weeks, in fact. Remember, the 4 Points Film Project is coming up in November, and let me bring up the URL real quick so you can see how you can go and register your team there. So if you're, let me see, yes. So it's coming up on September 8th is the opening of registration. That'll be early bird registration. And it's an all online competition, and it is open to every member of Planet Earth to participate in this. The kickoff and drop-off is all online, and it's socially distanced before it was cool.
That's right.
So
that's right.
Been doing that for a little while.
There's also a total of $4,000 in prize money awarded for the 4 Points Film Project, so it's a great opportunity, and we hope that you will join us for that. Thank you to Mark Rupert for joining us tonight, as well as all of our guests. We have had Sergio and Bill in Chicago. We have Romel in LA. And where is John?
San Francisco.
Oh, he's in San Francisco. Okay, so still kind of up near Marin. I get it. It's beautiful up there.
And hope the fires don't get too close to them
my goodness.
up there. And we hope everyone stays safe. And they burn themselves out or they get put out very quickly.
Yeah.
We hope you enjoyed tonight's show. We hope you all had a great night, and we'll see you all again soon. Good night.
Good night.